With a small delay, but as you saw outside, it's very crowded there, so getting through for our speakers was a bit of work. This is the high-level roundtable on leadership in action, ambition and collaboration for the OGP Strategy 2028. I have, on my last count, 25 speakers and about 1 hour and 20 minutes. So we'll go get started right away, and I ask all speakers to be as concise as they can. 2 to 3 minutes, we said. 2 would be better, and I have a huge timer in front of me, so you can't fool me. Handing over immediately to our gracious host of today, who you've seen on stage before. Secretary, over to you for your opening remarks.
Okay. Thank you very much, Paul. To the Open Government Partnership Chief of Global Programs, Mr. Paul Mason, members of the Philippine Cabinet, distinguished delegates, civil society leaders, and fellow champions and advocates of open government and good governance, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for attending the OGP Asia and the Pacific Regional Meeting 2025. This Ministerial Roundtable is a space for us to share concrete commitments and strengthen our resolve to build a lasting legacy and a better future for our people and for our community of nations. Our participation in this high-level gathering is most impactful as we need your decisive, action-oriented, and steadfast leadership in upholding our pledges to our people. We need this kind of strong leadership now, more than ever, as we navigate complex global and regional transitions, geopolitical shifts, evolving trade landscapes, economic uncertainties, rapid technological advancements, and escalating environmental challenges. While these transitions cast shadows of instability, they also shed light on a growing demand for open and accountable governance. This is a driving force behind the Open Government Challenge, to which our region, I am happy to note, has responded to positively. For instance, Mongolia has amended its law to enable the development of an online platform that publishes political party financial data, providing public oversight and increasing citizens' trust in the government. Armenia has established regulations for public officials' acceptance of gifts and developed a digital gift declaration that the citizens can access and monitor. We are also proud that 2 of our local government units have responded to the challenge. Baguio City institutionalized a People's Council to recognize and formalize civil society organizations' significant role in local decision-making processes. And the municipality of Larena in Siquijor has committed to establish a procurement oversight team. These are just a few of the commitments that contribute to truly achieving, slowly but surely, good governance for our people. But we also know that we need more ambitious undertakings played through the Open Government Challenge if we want to make governments work for all, not just for the powerful. So today, as one OGP community, let us take this opportunity to assess our current priorities, identify enabling conditions for these commitments to deliver tangible results, and build genuine partnerships to ensure the success of our reforms. As we present our intervention at this Ministerial Roundtable, let us honor their trust and ensure that the promises we make today translate into tangible actions that produce meaningful change in the lives of our constituents. Let us remember that our people are counting on us. We must not let them down. Thank you very much, and we look forward to discussing our current ambitions and priorities, the enabling conditions to raise these ambitions, and building partnerships and collaborations. Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Amina. So with so many leading government organizations and champions in the room, this promises really to be an inspiring conversation. I hope so, and I'll do my best to make it. And an exchange of ideas and insight from across the region. Before we dive in, let me share some thoughts from the side of OGP of what we are seeing, what we've seen in the past and what we want to achieve in the years ahead, to make open government more inclusive, transparent, accountable, and participatory. Where we've come from since 2011 is a partnership that has grown in the diversity of themes. We now see countries make commitments on climate, on digital governance, on justice, on security. whereas the early years commitments were more on traditional pillars of open government, such as budget transparency or fiscal openness. We are a growing membership. We just celebrated this morning the 10 new members in this region, including Maldives and Timor-Leste. And it's great to see that the values and principles of open government in these troubling times still are appealing to countries and local communities out there. And we've luckily seen, especially here in Indonesia, in the Philippines and in Indonesia, the spread of open government across all branches and levels of government. Having the whole cabinet in the room this morning was brilliant. I think that is something we want to see in each and every country of the partnership. After the first decade of OGP, we released a report called Vital Signs, and it said one thing. It said, if you bring in civil society meaningfully into your conversations around the reforms you want to make, you get more ambitious commitments, you get better implementation, and you get better results. So we can prove that working with civil society and with citizens makes government better. But I also want to acknowledge the urgency of the moment, the complexity and volumes of challenges, not just in this region, but globally. It's unprecedented what we're seeing at the moment, and it is a game changer for governments and civil society around the world. It is also a moment where moments of crisis create opportunities, and they're big opportunities for our community to dive into our values of working together, of dialogue, of trying to understand each other, and really focus on the P in OGP, the partnership. That is what is most needed at this moment. The task in front of us is big, and we really have to reach scale and impact of open government. But we cannot do it in isolation. Many of the challenges we are facing are transnational by nature. You cannot solve climate change on your own. You cannot solve illicit financial flows on your own. You cannot solve anti-corruption on your own. Collaboration between government and civil society and between governments internationally is needed, and the platform we offer as OGP, as a platform to learn, to share, to inspire, is critical in this time. Our strategy has three major ambitions. The first one is what I already referred to. It is mainstreaming open government across all branches and levels of government, and it's great to have the Chief Justice with us because that is a part of the ecosystem of government, if you want, ecosystem of society. So that's the first one. Open Gov strategies, open Gov approaches, mainstreaming open government, scaling open government at the local level are all part of that. The second one is we have to see more ambition. What we've collectively done in the first 13 years of OGP is brilliant, it's amazing, but it's also not enough. We have to be more ambitious on these challenge areas that the Secretary was talking about, that we saw in the opening this morning, and we challenge every country to do so. Globally, 30% of countries have made commitments to the Open Gov Challenge. That means 70% hasn't yet. So I'm calling on all of you to make those pledges to contribute to the Open Gov Challenge, and to the governments around the room, this is a great table to do so. And thirdly, we have the ambition to become the home of inspiration and the platform that connects reformers across the world, wherever you work. We need many more of you than fit in this room to make the dream of open government come alive, which is a dream of government that is better, governments that is stronger, that support the resilience of democracy, but in the end also leads to better outcomes for people. So with that, hopefully I've set the tone for a bit of ambition. We're going to dive right in. The first round focuses on the government perspective. There might be throughout the session a few speakers that will not speak in English. So for the speakers, there are headsets on the table. For those of you in the room that think, oh, I might quickly want a headset, in that corner of the room you can get one. Channel 1 is the floor, Channel 0 is the floor, Channel 1 English, 2 Armenian, 3 Mongolian, 4 Russian, and the 5th is Bahasa Indonesia. First round, what are the current ambitions and priorities? There are 3 questions, but you don't have to answer every question to the speakers. 3 questions. First, what transformative open government reforms are you currently championing? And how do they address the most pressing challenges that you are facing in your country, in your community? And what results are you hoping to achieve? The second question, where do you see your government or the governments in the region lead or contribute to the rest of the partnership? Where are you showing the leadership that can inspire the many others in our community? And the third, what are you doing to make sure that what you're doing is sustainable? You're creating a legacy for when you leave office and another administration might take over. How do you make sure that this sticks? Reminder again, 2 minutes. If you have to 3, I have a clock right in front of me, and we're going to dive in. And the first one I'm going to turn to is Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo of the Philippines. The floor is yours.
Esteemed colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It's an honor and privilege to join you all in this important event as a representative of the Philippine judiciary as we come together to explore how our leaders can collaborate to shape a secure, progressive, and prosperous future for our people, our nation, and our region. At the heart of the Philippine Development Plan PDP 2023 to 2028 is the belief that a stable, transparent, and accountable justice system is essential to the advancement of our nation. As highlighted in the PDP, we must have a judicial system that meets litigants' expectations with impartiality, supported by robust and adaptive infrastructures. Our commitment as the Philippine judiciary is resolute to resolve disputes efficiently and effectively. In doing so, we aim to inspire public confidence and foster a deep belief in the promise of a brighter, more prosperous future for the Philippines. Parallel to this, the judiciary is diligently implementing the Strategic Plan for Judicial Innovations 2022 to 2027, or the SPJI, a blueprint for reforms focused on enhancing judicial efficiency, fostering innovation, and increasing accessibility. The objectives outlined in the SPJI are seamlessly aligned with the broader goals of the PDP. This compels us to approach the enhancement of our judicial services with a spirit of collaboration, particularly as we continue to contribute to the Open Government Partnership OGP National Action Plan, or NAP. Since 2023, the judiciary has worked hand in hand with fellow government leaders to synchronize our efforts on a range of open government initiatives, all aimed at advancing transparency, inclusivity, and accountability. Among our most significant commitments to the NAP is the establishment and continued enhancement of the justice zones and the improvement of access to legal services. In 2024, the OGP Independent Review Mechanism recognized the expansion of these justice zones as essential to achieving coordinated access to justice in critical areas such as anti-trafficking of persons, tourism, and environmental preservation. Truly, our governance in the judiciary is a reflection of the very principles set forth by the OGP: transparency, accountability, and active citizen engagement. Through this framework, we have demonstrated our unwavering commitment to inclusivity and to increasing access to justice. Notably, we have conducted nationwide consultation in revising the Code of Professional Responsibility and Accountability, and in fine-tuning various procedure rules. Perhaps most significantly, we have institutionalized mandatory and incentivized pro-legal services through the Unified Legal Aid Service, thereby ensuring that those most in need of legal services are not left behind. As we move forward, I can say with great confidence that the Philippine judiciary remains steadfast in its commitment to implementing reforms that uphold the guiding principles of the OGP and the PDP. In closing, I invite all of us to embrace the opportunity before us, an opportunity to build a future in which leadership, action, and collaboration fosters an open, efficient, and trustworthy justice system for the generations to come. Thank you and good morning to all.
Thank you, Chief Justice, and it's great to start off with the justice angle because access to justice, open justice is a growing and important pillar of the open government agenda. So thank you. Turning to David Kuratyan, Minister of Territorial Administration and Infrastructure from Armenia.
Dear colleagues, good afternoon to all of you. I will speak Armenian. Հարգելի գործընկերներ, անցյալ տարիների ընթացքում Հայաստանը այլ երկրների հետ միասին պետք է դիմակայեր համաճարակի տեղական եւ գլոբալ մարտահրավերներին, բայց առաջին հերթին մենք պետք է ապահովենք մեր երկրի եւ ժողովրդի անվտանգությունը ռազմական էսկալացիայի ժամանակ։ Այս մարտահրավերները ցույց տվեցին, որ այն ջանքերը, որոնք մենք ուղղում ենք մարտահրավերները հաղթարելու ուղղությամբ, բավական չեն։ Ուրեմն ժամանակն է ավելի մեծ ջանքեր ուղղելու այս խնդիրների լուծման ուղղությամբ։ Չնայած այս ամենին, ես ուրախ եմ ձեզ հետ կիսվել այն հաջողություններով, որոնք մենք ունեցել ենք, եւ ինչպես է բաց կառավարման գործընկերությունը գործընթացն աջակցել մեզ այս նպատակներին հասնելու համար։ Մենք բարելավել ենք պետական բյուջեի ծախսերի թափանցիկությունը, գործարկել ենք շահառուների սեփականության ռեեստր, հաջողությամբ իրագործել ենք կրթության եւ առողջապահության հետ կապված մեր պարտավորությունները, գործարկել ենք քաղաքացիների հետադարձ կապի եւ հանրային ծառայությունների գնահատման համակարգը, բայց այստեղ պետք է առանձնացնեմ միասնական կրթական հարթակը։ Համաշխարհային մասշտաբով մենք տեսանք կրթության հասանելիության նոր մարտահրավեր իդեմս կորոնավիրուսի համավարակի, երբ էլեկտրոնային ուսուցման հարկադիր անցումով եւ թվային անջրպետի աճով։ Համավարակից ընդամենը 1 տարի առաջ մենք նախաձեռնել ենք միասնական կրթական հարթակի միջոցով սկսել նոր բարեփոխումներ դեպի ճկուն կրթություն։ Ներկայումս համակարգը հնարավորություն է տալիս իրականացնել ուսուցիչների սերտիֆիկացման եւ վերապատրաստման գործընթացը, փաստաթղթերի լայնածավալ թվայնացում, ինտեգրում այլ առնչվող համակարգերին եւ նվազեցում ներքին վարչարարական գործընթացները։ Հայաստանի կառավարության մյուս առաջնահերթությունը դարձել է կոռուպցիայի դեմ պայքարը։ Այդ նպատակով մենք ստեղծել ենք մասնագիտական հակակոռուպցիոն անկախ ինստիտուտներ, կոռուպցիայի կանխարգելման հանձնաժողով, հակակոռուպցիոն կոմիտե, կոռուպցիոն հատուկ բաժին գլխավոր դատախազությունում եւ հակակոռուպցիոն դատարաններ։ Սակայն դա բավարար չէ մեզ անհրաժեշտ եւ ուժեղ հարթակներ, անհրաժեշտ են մեզ ուժեղ հարթակներ, որոնք կծառայեն որպես հիմք, որի վրա կառուցվում են հաշվետու, թափանցիկ եւ մասնակցային կառավարումը։ Հակակոռուպցիոն ջանքերը մեր ԲԿԳ օրակարգի մշտական մասն են։ ԲԿԳ գործընթացների շրջանակներում Հայաստանը ներկայումս մշակում է էլեկտրոնային գնումների առաջադեմ համակարգ, որն ապահովում է փոխգործակցությունը շահառու սեփականության հայտարարագրի տվյալների հետ։ Ամբողջ տվյալները կբարելավեն հռչակագրի համակարգի տվյալները եւ դրանով իսկ կխթանեն հաշվետվողականությունը, կնվազեցնեն ապօրինի ֆինանսական գործունեությունը, փողերի ներուժը քաղաքականության մեջ։ Հայաստանը ակտիվորեն ընդունում է թվային տեխնոլոգիաները իր կառավարումը փոխելու նպատակով, նպատակ ունենալով ոչ միայն պարզեցնել գործընթացները, այլև արդյունավետորեն օգտագործել քաղաքացիների ներդրումը։ Այս ջանքերը ներկայումս ներառում են այնպիսի նախաձեռնություններ, ինչպիսիք են ՀՀ պաշտոնյաների հայտարարագրման համակարգը, իդրաֆտ իրավական ակտերի հարթակը հանրային ներգրավման համար, շահառուների սեփականության հայտարարագրերի գրանցամատյանները, էլեկտրոնային արդարադատության վիճակագրական գործիքը, քաղաքացիների հետադարձ կապի հարթակը հանրային ծառայությունների համար։ Հարգելի գործընկերներ, այսօր կոռուպցիան նաև պատերազմի եւ հակամարտությունների հիմնական շարժուժն է, որովհետև կոռումպացված վարչակարգերը աշխարհում հակված են իրենց իշխանությունը պահել ներքին գործերում, զարգացնելով արտաքին թշնամու կերպարը իր տարածաշրջանային հարևանների դեմ։ Դրանով նրանք շեղում են հասարակությունների ուշադրությունը ներքին հրատապ խնդիրներից եւ մարդու իրավունքների ու հիմնարար ազատությունների խախտումներից։ Կոռուպցիայի դեմ արդյունավետ պայքարը կնպաստի խաղաղության եւ անվտանգության
will help to have a good platform where human rights are of high priority, and we will have some international efforts for this, and we highly appreciate and we attach big importance to the thing that we do this internationally, so we have the help of others. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Armenia has been a strong performer, regional leader in OGP since the beginning, so it's great to have you with us. Turning straight away to Joanna Virtue, Assistant Secretary at the Australian Government Attorney General's Department.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your kind invitation to represent Australia at the 2025 OGP Asia Pacific Regional Meeting. It's wonderful to be here at this event to discuss shared ambitions and challenges in open government with others in the region. The Australian government is committed to the OGP objectives of integrity, transparency, honesty and accountability in government. Australia is implementing its third National Action Plan together with our civil society partners. We have 8 commitments under this plan, focusing on strengthening youth engagement, transparency in the use of artificial intelligence in government, public sector integrity, beneficial ownership reform, increasing accountability in procurement and grants administration, protection of public sector whistleblowers, transparency in political donations, and truth in political advertising, and countering mis- and disinformation. There have been some notable success stories. In the last 3 years, 2 new institutions have been created: the National Anti-Corruption Commission and the Administrative Review Tribunal. Legislative reforms have been passed to privacy legislation and our public sector whistleblowing regime. And we have made significant progress on our OGP commitments, including through the release of draft legislation to enhance transparency around beneficial ownership and the release of guidelines for the safe and responsible use of AI in government. The issues that Australia is tackling in relation to open government are important issues for governments and civil society organisations globally. I also acknowledge that Australia is engaged in a range of ways throughout the Asia-Pacific region on matters of relevance to open government, such as law and justice exchanges and partnerships, supporting election processes through the Australian Electoral Commission, and international engagement on countering foreign bribery and anti-corruption. A particular example of our cooperation is the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, or IPEF, to which the Philippines, our gracious hosts, and Australia are members, and on which we are working closely together. The Open Government Partnership encourages us to embrace a consistent dialogue between government leaders and civil society advocates. We look forward to hearing about the work of our regional partners and their progress in implementing the OGP, as well as to strong ongoing relationships and dialogue on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna. Australia, through the years, has shown some real great innovative work in the partnership. For example, you were one of the first to start working on artificial intelligence, and other countries have really benefited from your pioneering work. So thank you. Turning to Ambassador Agus Wijojo from Indonesia, one of our founding members. Ambassador, over to you.
Thank you, sir. Today's complex global and regional transitions and challenges poses opportunities for stronger collaboration in the region. First, regularized dialogues within the region will establish a necessary platform for Asia-Pacific countries to identify common challenges and exchange successes. In 2024, we organized the Asia-Pacific Peer Learning Experience, albeit on a small scale. We encourage support from OGP to upscale the peer learning initiative. Second, this platform also presents opportunities for OGP Asia-Pacific members to address transboundary issues. Regional collaboration could focus on specific areas to support digital government and open data initiatives, which is a growing area of interest for the region. These areas include enhancing life cycle services to ease public accessibility, improving government procurement mechanisms to enhance transparency and accountability in public spending, and to bolster anti-corruption efforts, fostering public-private collaboration in data innovation in line with OECD targets, encouraging regional open data standards and interoperability, as well as cross-border digital economy and investment in digital infrastructure to support data standardization and security. In conclusion, the OGP Asia-Pacific has the potential to provide a robust network of various stakeholders with more contextualized priority issues. We believe that robust regional cooperation has the potential to generate a cascading effect, positively influencing the broader global open government movement, building upon strengthening the OGP strategy for 2023 through 2028. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Wijojo. As I said, Indonesia, as a founding member, has been a really important actor in the region. We thank you for Indonesia's leadership and innovation through the years. I think Indonesia is also one of the countries that was first in connecting the open government agenda to other international agendas like the SDG, and you've been really doing pioneering work on that. So thank you. We're staying in Indonesia we're turning to Mardani Alisera, Chair of the Committee of the Interparliamentary Cooperation, People's Representative Council of the Republic of Indonesia.
Thank you very much. A very good evening. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon us all. Allow me first to extend our thanks for inviting us as a representative of the Indonesian Parliament. Since 2018, we have established an open parliament in Indonesia. In 2020, we set up a standard for Indonesian modern parliaments based on 3 pillars. First is the public engagement. We are doing what we call sistem informasi legislasi, informative system legislation, that every citizen can access all the information in the parliament. The second one, we use the technology and informations. We set up what we call it TV parliaments, social media parliaments, and all access to the draft resolution, draft of law that has been discussed in our parliament. The third one is the accountability. We always publish the performance of our member of parliaments. We also publish 5 years law that we will discuss in this period. And the last thing is we doing reformation in our parliaments. Everybody can now have an access to all informations. We have put specific officers to set up all the service to the public, but since we are doing this, we have quite good effort, and usually we have bottom 2 or bottom 3 in the public satisfaction survey. But right now we have the 5 bottom. It's just a little bit better, but it is good for us. Still long work to go, but our parliament will do consistently sustainability to work with our NGO in Indonesia. Thank you very much.
Terima kasih, Chair. We're turning straight to Mongolia. We're traveling a little bit. We're going to, apologies for my pronunciation, State Secretary Jaklan Bata Seriter.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. So, first of all, I would like to thank to the organizers, the government of the Philippines, and the Secretariat of the OGP for successful organization of this event on behalf of the Mongolian delegates. Well, I just would like to share here 3 important developments recently happened in Mongolia. First one is the people of Mongolia held election last year, parliamentary election last year successfully, which is based on our new election law, which consists of combined two systems. One of them is the majority voting system, the other one is a proportional system. So as a result, number of member of parliamentarians are increased from 76 to 126. So what I mean by this is that the state of Mongolia is committed to more powerful democratization in that region. Secondly, which is one of the most important developments, is that we have established our National Wealth Fund last year as well, in order to distribute mining income to equally and transparent to our people, which this topic has been discussed for over 20 years, but we succeeded it last year. Was very important. And last but not least, I would like also mention that we have updated our anti-corruption program as well. So in the future, we have to implement that efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you, State Secretary, and it's great to have Mongolia with us. Strong democracy in the region since a long time, and important in this region to show that example. We're staying in Mongolia. We're turning to Bat Erdene Dorshuren. Not good with Mongolian names. Chief Secretariat of the Office of the General Election Commission of Mongolia.
My name is Bat Erdene. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Paul, and thank you, Ms. Minar, and thank you, everyone. And first of all, it's an honor to be participant in this meeting. Reducing the influence of the money in politics and ensuring that citizens can freely exercise their politics rights requires greater transparency and oversight in political party financing. Therefore, Mongolia is working towards to make more effort and enhance transparency and...
Could you go a little bit closer to the mic so we can hear you better?
Reducing the influence of the money in politics... influence of money politics and ensuring that citizens can freely exercise their politics rights requires greater transparency and oversight in political party financing. Therefore, the Mongolia is working towards to make more efforts to enhance transparency and accountability of political party financing. In 2023, the Mongolian Parliament adopted to the new political party law, introducing progressive regulations to develop more responsibly policy-driven political parties while ensuring that their financing is transparent and subject to public oversight. Now our priority is the full implementation of this law. For the General Election Commission, Mongolia, ensuring the transparency in the political party financing, establishing effective oversight mechanisms, and enabling public scrutiny and crucial. In this regard, we recognize the need to develop digital system. It's for the open data, for registering and monitoring political party finances, ultimately making financial open data policy accessible to strengthening public oversight. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Badin. I mean, I think if anything we've seen from recent elections is how important it is to focus on the topic of money and politics. So thank you for pioneering that and submitting a challenge on that to the OpenGov Challenge. Turning to one of our newest members, the Maldives, celebrated this morning. Zitna Ibrahim, Minister of State for Finance and Planning.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Honorable Ministers, distinguished colleagues and representatives of the Open Government Partnership, as a nation committed to enhancing transparency, accountability and citizen participation, Maldives proudly joined OGP in June 2024. This decision was driven by the tremendous opportunity OGP presents to strengthen our democratic values and advance sustainable development goals. As a newly joined member, the Maldives is in the process of developing our first national action plan under this partnership. As we embark on this transformative journey, there are several key policy areas that we prioritize addressing through our partnership with OGP. These focus areas are fundamental for us to be a more resilient nation. One of our top priorities is climate change, combating the challenges Maldives face due to climate change. As an island nation, the Maldives is on the front line of climate threats, For us, climate change is not simply an environmental issue, but it's a matter of survival. To address it, we are transforming our economy and investing in urban development with energy-efficient and climate-resilient features at the forefront, underscoring our dedication to move towards a low-carbon economy. Similarly, digital innovation is another pillar of our progress. It is a lifeline for bridging gaps in service delivery, especially on our remote islands. Like the Philippines, we have thousands of islands. Digital tools help us access essential services like healthcare and education and improve governance by reducing corruption, enhancing accountability, and streamlining public services. Furthermore, we are committed to enhancing public participation in governance. As a significant step, we have established a mechanism through the enactment of the Right to Information Act, empowering citizens with access to government information, promoting transparency and accountability at all levels of governance. We don't believe that this is an endpoint. We believe that there's still room for improvement, either through streamlining the internal mechanisms within agencies or whatnot. As we develop our first national action plan, we look forward to engaging with the OGP community, learning from our peers, and sharing our experiences. We hope the progress we envision and materialize can inspire others and contribute to promoting the open government challenge. Our participation in OGP is crucial in strengthening these efforts, ensuring citizens are fully involved in policy decision-making and informed of their outcomes. We are laying the groundwork for a more transparent and inclusive governance framework by being a partner of Open Government Partnership. Additionally, we are committed to fostering stronger regional collaboration in Asia and the Pacific. As we progress, we aim to serve as a bridge between small island states and larger nations, championing our key transformative areas and open governance as intertwined priorities. The Maldives' participation in the Open Government Partnership is not merely a policy choice. It's a clear declaration of our commitment to upholding the values of democracy. Through our engagement with OGP, we seek to further strengthen the bond between government and citizens, ensuring democratic delivery, building resilience, and fostering trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, and it's great to see you champion, on the one hand, the Right to Information Act, which is a pillar of open government. We encourage all our members to have one. And on the other hand, climate change, which is one of our newer topics. So we're looking forward to your leadership on that topic. We're staying in the Maldives, turning to Abdullah Anis, Deputy Minister of Homeland Security and Technology.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here today and highlight the Maldives' vision for an open government partnership that promotes transparency, accountability, and citizen partnership in governance and fosters trust and innovation in public service delivery. Today, under the visionary leadership of our President, Dr. Mohammad Muiz, the Maldives has not just been adapting, we are advancing, building a more innovative, more resilient, and prepared nation for the future. In the recent years, the Maldives has taken incredible steps towards digital governance, enhancing public access to information, encouraging civil participation, and improving public service delivery. Firstly, as highlighted by State Minister Ms. Zidna, the Right to Information Act was enacted to ensure citizens have access to government information, promoting transparency and informed citizenry. The second step is the Maldives has launched platforms for public consultation and feedback on key policies, ensuring that citizens' voices are heard and considered in decision making. Third, our e-governance initiatives make services more accessible and efficient for citizens, leveraging technology to bring gaps and improve service delivery. Our eFast digital ID, embraced by 85% of adult population has revolutionized public services. Our e-government portal, OneGov, aims to bring every government function onto a single integrated platform. We have achieved some milestones and we have plans for the brighter future. We are advancing robust cybersecurity and data protection legislation, ensuring global best practices. Launching the National Sovereign Cloud Initiative will secure our critical data infrastructure, shielding it from cyber threats while preserving digital sovereignty. The Maldives supports OGP and is committed and ready to share expertise, exchange ideas, and shape a digital future that is force for good for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. And I have to admit that in the office there's a bit of competition going on who can go to the Maldives to help you. If it makes any difference, I have an engineering degree in technology. So, turning to back to the Philippines, Juan Eduardo Angara, Secretary of the Department of Education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Excellencies, Mr. Chief Justice, colleagues in the Cabinet, especially our host, the beautiful Secretary Amina Pangandaman. Congratulations. Since we've been appointed to the Department of Education, which is the largest employer and the largest bureaucracy in the country, we've discovered a number of problems with over 1 million employees. Some issues we'd like to share with you is first, the issue of data scarcity and poor learning outcomes. The absence of timely data and evidence on learners' performance tends to hinder education managers in their ability to improve instructional practices. And this has contributed to a significant decline in learning outcomes. And the President has made this a priority. And in response, we are looking to enhance governance structures to ensure data-informed management. This involves decentralizing education services and empowering local offices to utilize data effectively to respond to specific educational challenges. Also a challenge is a centralized decision-making in such a large bureaucracy. And the education system remains overly centralized, which limits the agility and innovation needed to address local educational needs effectively, leading to inefficiencies and data-poor environments and impeding the ability to make informed decisions. In response, the department aims to bring basic education governance closer to the ground, closer to the schools, empowering regional offices, school division offices, and schools by delegating key processes and programs to enable them to take on a more significant role in improving local education outcomes and to foster greater accountability. A third issue is the lack of accountability mechanisms, which results in being resource-strapped and slow to innovate. And this creates a reliance on inputs and outputs rather than focusing on improved learning outcomes. In response, the department has, as many of the speakers who went ahead mentioned, digitalization strategies to provide education stakeholders with timely data for resource allocation and program prioritization. The government is working on developing data dashboards and systems that will support evidence-based decision-making in real time. This focus also aims to enhance transparency in basic education data, empowering stakeholders to make data-driven decisions and to implement transformative reforms. A fourth issue is the reluctance to innovate and to respond, and partly due to inadequate data utilization and lack of real-time information. In response, there are several efforts to instill a stronger data culture in the Department of Education. We emphasize the need for decentralized governance structures that are informed by data, which can enhance accountability as well as responsiveness. A last issue is the delayed delivery of essential learning tools and materials to our students, such as laptops, textbooks, and only a certain number of teachers have been provided with laptops. Only a certain number of students have been provided with, in a timely manner, with textbooks and other essential materials. So we need to utilize early procurement activities and innovation as strategies to improve procurement efficiency and to ensure timely project implementation, as well as maximize our budget utilization. The newly enacted National Government Procurement Act, which the Secretary of Budget, Pangandaman, mentioned, and which we worked on in conjunction with the DBM when I was still in the Senate, is a big tool, and we're looking forward to utilizing it, as are many agencies of government, because it ensures the participation of communities and local CSOs, as well as a reduction in time processes to ensure more efficient government. In closing, an open government is likely to be a more efficient, responsive, and accountable government, resulting in a more engaged, a more empowered populace. So I congratulate the OGP network and Secretary Pangandaman for this very timely event, and as well as the new members, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. And if you have an opportunity later in the year to come to Spain for the Global Summit, I invite you to speak to your colleagues from Norway, who've done some really interesting work on giving trust back to the teachers and the health workers to actually achieve better learning outcomes and less administration. So I think it's a
Thank you very much.
Good one. We're staying in Indonesia. Secretary Remula Jr. of the Department of Interior and Local Government.
I'm from the Philippines, sir. No offense to Indonesia. Good morning. Good morning, Your Excellencies. Just to make it clear, I am a politician. And to be a politician means that we are both arrogant and narcissistic. The concept of an open government is an anathema to all of us. You can ask Secretary Angara here and Secretary Rex. But change is on the way. When I was governor during COVID, I partnered with the De La Salle University to create the most advanced COVID laboratory in the country. And we processed all the tests at the cheapest possible cost. That was done because we were in collaboration with the university, and the procurement and the pricing was all open. Now I am the Secretary of the Interior, which is an infinitely more complicated job. I have 225,000 policemen, 50,000 firefighters, 30,000 jail management personnel, 1,400 municipalities, 83 provinces, 40,000 barangays, and it's getting more complicated. However, I still believe in collaboration. I am collaborating now with the University of the Philippines for the PNP, for the Philippine National Police Reform Initiative. They are guiding me and they are teaching me the way in order to create a more responsive and better police force. I hope that this initiative redounds down to the rest of the local governments, and we are in the pursuit of having it institutionalized all over the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary, also giving us that insight into politicians. I'll take that one home.
From the Philippines.
Yes, sir. I'll remember that. Secretary Rex, I hope I can call you that as well. It's Department of Social Welfare and Development. Welcome. Over to you.
Thank you. Good morning. Your Excellencies, colleagues in the Open Government Partnership, good morning. The Department of Social Welfare and Development is the lead agency, this country's lead agency in extending social protection to the poor, marginalized, and vulnerable. We recognize that poverty alleviation and hunger eradication is not something that we can do overnight, nor is it something that we can achieve if government will do it on its own. The SWD addressed this head-on by employing a whole-of-society approach by enlisting social welfare and development agencies, foundations, people's organizations, civil society organizations as our partners in combating hunger and poverty. Now, the main before we joined, before this current administration, just to contextualize the challenge of getting their voices into the table, only 51% of these organizations were actually accredited. Thousands of good doers were left out in the open because neither they couldn't register, get their license to operate, or even worse, get their accreditation. But the department early on recognized this, and we employed, and the Marcos administration early on recognized this, and we embarked on an innovative strategy of using technology with the goal of multiplying our capacity by bringing these voices into the table to provide sustained, adequate, quality, and compassionate service to the Filipino people. Following the directive of the President, we digitalized the regulatory government services of DSWD. DSWD, or the department, developed a digital platform aimed at speeding up the application process for registering, licensing, and accrediting social welfare and development agencies in the country, with the aim of creating a welcoming environment for these organizations to help us achieve our mandate of eradicating poverty and ending hunger. With the DSWD Helps, or the system that we created, which stands for Harmonized Electronic and Licensing Permitting System, we streamlined the processes, which used to be a nightmare. We streamlined the process of permits issuance for social welfare and development agencies from what used to be 90 days just to get your permit to operate to 7 days, cutting down the process from 49 steps to just 12 steps, and harmonizing documentary requirements so that applying organizations need to only submit 10 requirements compared to 50. Basically, we trimmed down the steps, the requirements, and eliminated the redundancies. In closing, like Secretary Remulla, I'm also a politician, and he already characterized us as narcissistic, and we tend to drown out the voices of others. But we believe in DSWD that in order to craft a more relevant anti-poverty, anti-hunger program, we have to bring in more voices to the table. And as I mentioned, there are thousands of good doers out there in the private sector through non-government organizations, people's organizations, civil society organizations who are willing to carry and replicate the cuddles of government. And that's why through this technology platform that we created, we hope to turn social welfare into a more participatory, consultative, and transparent initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary, and thank you also for reminding us that just making government easier is an important part of the open government agenda. It really is important. And thank you again to the government of the Philippines for bringing 4 secretaries and a Chief Justice to this table. It really shows the energy and the dedication to this agenda. Turning to Daniel Tindipu, Vice Minister for National Planning of Papua New Guinea.
Thank you, Chair. The Excellencies, Governors, Senators, colleague ministers, ladies and gentlemen. I convey the greetings from the Minister Hon Seanopala, the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, Hon James Marape, and the people of independent state of Papua New Guinea. On the onset, let me take this time to thank the Philippines government, OGP unit, and the Department of Budget and Management for inviting government of Papua New Guinea to attend the Asia-Pacific region OGP meeting and participate in the important Ministerial Roundtable panel. PNG has the aspiration to be wise, healthy, and prosperous society in the world by 2050, as stimulated in the Vision 2050, our government's plan. The 40-year plan was translated in 20 long-term policy, which set out long-term objectives of Papua New Guinea to be a middle-income country by 2030. These development aspirations cannot be reached by government alone. Hence, we need civil society, including churches and private sector, to work together. Hence, we need connectivity and participation. We appreciate the OGP initiative for bringing that connectivity and agenda of transparency, accountability, inclusive, and participation. I have a firm belief in the OGP process to bring in innovation and reform as such Papua New Guinea digital transformation. OGP initiative complements the spirit of Papua New Guinea national constitutions that underlays the principles of fairness, transparency, and inclusive participation in service delivery and wealth distribution. It also elevates the principle of partnership and inclusive participation in decision-making and service delivery process. Background. Papua New Guinea adopted the OGP initiative in 2015 through NAC decision number 285/2015 after attending the Asia Pacific OGP Regional Conference in Bali in Indonesia in 2014. OGP National Action Plan and Implementations. PNG has so far implemented 2 national action plans with the support of the civil society and the government led by my ministry. Through the OGP platform, government has enacted the Digital Government Act 2022 and formulate digital transformation policy to streamline work of digital transformation in the country. The enhancement of Act gave birth to digital transformation. Government committed to pursue digital transformation through the OGP platform. Let me also inform this gathering that my ministry has directed the formulation of state CSO partnership policy, which creates the needed policy platform to engage effective and meaningful collaboration between CSO and government. The Papua New Guinea government is committed to work closely with the civil society to improve service delivery. Government has directed the PNG OGP Secretariat to align the third OGP National Action Plan with Medium-Term Development Plan for more integration and ownership. The Ministry of Information Technology is directed to draft the right to inform the legislation which will free up the flow of information in Papua New Guinea and, more importantly, pursue digital transformation. Other commitments going forward are: 1, to strengthen the democratic process; 2, to improve the election process; 3, to rebuild the trust of citizens in the government service delivery system and process. High-level OGP commitments for Papua New Guinea: digital transformation, inclusive, approved to develop planning and service delivery; the budget reform, including citizens involved in budget reform, inclusive citizens, making budget more open to citizens; elect reform, free up the flow of information. We as a government must get independent observations from what other OGP participating countries are doing and plan way forward. Thank you all.
Thank you, Vice Minister, and thank you for sharing your journey in OGP. Final one for this round. We turn to Timor-Leste, Minister of Finance, Santina Viegas Cardoso.
Thank you very much, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity to share Timor-Leste perspective on open government and our journey towards greater transparency and accountability. As a young democracy emerging from conflict, Timor-Leste understands deeply the importance of building trust between the government and the citizen. Today, I would like to briefly share with you how we are championing transformative reform in the public financial management to address our pressing national challenges. The Ministry of Finance is leading comprehensive reform designed to enhance fiscal sustainability, transparency, and accountability. At the heart of this effort is the modernization of our integration financial management information system, which aims to ensure greater transparency and efficiency in budget execution and reporting. We know that we face significant challenges. Our national budget currently relies on our petroleum fund for over 70% of its financing. And without substantial reform, projections indicate the fund could be depleted soon. This reality drives us our commitment to strengthen our revenue collection mechanism, including the implementation of value-added taxation, while simultaneously improving expenditure management. To enhance transparency, we have developed what we call Transparency Portal. So our civil society, in the process of preparing the budget, they have been participating very active since the budget formulation. So we start with the public consultation where we go to the municipality, budget department going to the municipality to consult with the civil society and representative of the community level for them to get what is their objective of the plan for their own municipality. This process is really very useful for the budget department, especially the Minister of Finance, to take that plan to formulate it in the budget process. And then in our budget process, the participation of the civil society is very important, not only in the government part, but in terms of the parliament. Our parliament also, they have a public hearing for the civil society to get their view as well in terms of the budget proposal. This is very important transparency that we are trying to promote in the government. And then in this new government has committed to certain reform, which is, we know that the transparency is very important for gain the public trust. That's why to being a new list member for this organization, I think will add more value to the Timor-Leste, especially the Minister of Finance, to carry our reform in terms of the open transparency and accountability. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. That was round one. We have 2 more rounds to go. Now, I had a good breakfast, so I don't mind going a little bit into lunch, but I'm not sure if everyone agrees. We have quite a few speakers still to go. Turning to round 2, enabling conditions and stretching ambitions. This is the round where we hear from a couple of civil society voices. The questions for this round are, what are the enabling conditions needed to support the growth and translation of ambition on open government in the regional or national context? And where do governments in the region need to go further to make open government reforms deliver real results for citizens? We have, 6 speakers in this round, and we start with Bonatua Palinggomon Pausip, Deputy Director of the International Forum on Indonesian Development.
Thank you, Chairman. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. As CSO representative at the 2025 OGP Asia Pacific Summit, we reflect on our progress toward open government and look forward to a renewed commitment to OGP in the Asia Pacific. OGP is vital for strengthening democracy, including shrinking civic space, economic inequality, humanitarian crisis, and the impacts of climate change. Civil society is committed to strengthening civic space and democracy by fostering freedom of expression and assembly. We will partner with institutions with the same vision and participate in all-level forums as coalition to advance open government. To advance the OGP, civil society calls for commitment and action from all levels of government. We encourage increased participation in local OGP programs, including concrete participation with the OGP Challenge Initiative. Analysis of OGP commitment implementation across the Asia-Pacific reveals significant variance in progress, particularly inclusive participation. Countries like Indonesia and Philippines demonstrate good progress on transparency, public participation, and innovative technologies. To grow OGP in the Asia-Pacific, the OGP Asia-Pacific and government must collaborate and invest on capacity building for government and CSO. This includes training, resource sharing, and adapting to digital technology to enhance citizen participation. Strengthening regulation framework is crucial for the sustainability of OGP. Government in Asia-Pacific must establish robust legal framework to ensure the sustainability of OGP so that it does not depend on a particular government leadership. Each country in Asia-Pacific needs a citizen-focused and clear national action plan for OGP implementation. Government must develop and communicate these plans to the citizens, including objective, reasonable timelines, and measurable indicators. Regional cooperation is key to maximize OGP impact in Asia-Pacific. In the current geopolitical landscape, strengthening collaboration between Asia-Pacific countries promotes mutual learning and collaborative projects. Regional mechanisms such as ASEAN can facilitate dialogue and advance open government governance. The OGP Asia-Pacific Summit in Manila is a safe space. Now is the time to accelerate for a more open Asia-Pacific, starting with the OGP Asia-Pacific Summit 2025 in Manila, Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you emphasizing the safe space. I think that is what we very often hear, that permanent dialogue between government and civil society actually creates a safe space that is especially really valuable in times of tension. Turning to Sandino Solman, Executive Director of the Code NGO in the Philippines.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, good afternoon. While we recognize the efforts, especially of the Philippine government in coming this far with the Open Government Partnership, there's still a long way to go before transparency and good governance becomes the norm. The OGP in the Philippines has numerous successes in pushing for reforms, such as the Citizens Participatory Audit and others. But despite this, Freedom of Information law has yet to be passed. So I think we have inspiration from our friends in Maldives to learn from this. Also, one of the successes here is that we institutionalized the multi-stakeholder platform through Executive Order 31. This is a good move, but then this platform needs to be strengthened in terms of greater transparency and participation. Why do we say this? We know what happened in the bicameral committee meeting of the 2025 budget, where we saw budget cuts in essential social services. So civil society here in the Philippines raises great concern on the final outcome of the budget and how it was seemingly arranged to the advantage of politicians behind closed doors. Therefore, in this partnership, we propose for greater transparency and participation in the processes of the national budget and install safeguards against graft and corruption. The business community, which is also part of the broader civil society, calls for the records of the bicameral proceedings to be made public. They also call for citizens' participation in the Development Budgeting Coordinating Committee to allow citizens' participation or input on macroeconomic assumptions and budget priorities. Now, while civil society strives to work for reforms, vilification of CSOs persists in the Philippines and I think in other countries in the Asia-Pacific region. These affect civic spaces and the venues of participation for red tag organizations. These activities of red tagging seemingly have correlations with the policies of the Financial Action Task Force. While the intentions of the FATFI and the Anti-Money Laundering Council of the Philippines are in good faith, there must be a way to discuss openly and constructively the unintended consequences of strict regulations with the decision makers involved. The consequences include limited access to banks, which affects financial inclusion programs of the Philippines, access to banks for civil society organizations is what I mean, and the effect of frozen bank accounts to the reputation and survival of CSOs affected. Finally, we call on fellow civil society organizations to hold fast and work together more effectively, especially now that we face very concerning challenges coming from the situation in the US and the dismantling of USAID. The time to work together is now, more than ever. And for us, in the Caucus of Development NGO networks, many are the challenges we face, but we remain firm in our commitment to work with government and non-government actors towards protecting civic spaces and deepening democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandino, for touching on some of these really fundamental issues that we are collectively facing, like the dismantling of USAID. Turning to Manuel, Senior Advisor, Grassroots Justice Networks in the Philippines.
Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, sorry. Welcome to the Philippines. We are talking about collaboration and ambition. I'll talk first on collaboration, and I will highlight a fundamental element for collaboration without which our common aspiration of open government will not be achieved. And I'm referring to empowerment of communities, especially those that are most affected by issues of poverty and injustice. Collaboration does not happen naturally or automatically. And even if we open venues and mechanisms for participation, there has to be something else. Meaningful collaboration can only happen if individuals, groups, and communities have the necessary capacity to actively participate in governance processes. By empowerment, we do not simply mean access to information or open data. Empowerment requires that people who are expected to participate in governance have the necessary capacity, knowledge, skills, opportunities. When we talk about access to justice, for example, we should enhance the capacity not only of the justice administrators, but also of those who seek and claim justice. It has to be an improvement of the relationship on both sides. Empowerment also means that those who are engaging with government and participating in governance processes have the necessary support, adequately funded, fully protected as they perform their important task of being key stakeholders in governance. And finally, on ambition, as Paul mentioned in the introductory remarks, we need to be more ambitious. I call on everyone to be more ambitious in focusing on the empowerment side, on the empowerment aspect of open government. We should not forget that we open government so that people may enter, not for them to receive aid or benefits as passive participants, but for them to be active partners in ensuring just, transparent, and accountable governance. Salamat po.
Really, really well put, and articulating why we are doing this, to give the citizens space as part of shaping their own future and outcomes. Thank you very much for that. Turning to Suzanne Snively, Honorary Dame and live member of Transparency International, New Zealand.
Thank you, Paul. Kia ora, whānau. As they say in New Zealand, hello, OGP colleagues. Today is a very special day for New Zealand. It's the signing of Te Tiriti, the Treaty of Waitangi with Maori back in 1849. What I want to really talk about is about civil society and how it focuses on the P in OGP. They know how to form partnerships. It's not only directly with their communities, but amongst themselves and also amongst international organizations. As has been said several times today, democracy is incredibly strong among this group here today. We all love democracy, but we also know that it's extremely vulnerable at this point. This makes civil society vulnerable. And so they are less and less able to do the things that they can do. To answer your question, how can civil society be supported by OGP? It's through governments supporting civil society in their countries. Civil society can motivate stronger democracy because by building stronger relationships with their communities and with their international partners, they also enhance in a direct way the value and the benefit that people get from government. In this way, civil society enables open government partnership to be inclusive, transparent, and participatory. Civil society organizations have direct connections with their communities because they develop the policy and provide the actual direct services to those communities. In many ways, civil society organizations are doing things that governments can't do, and they do it better than governments can do it. They can propel and mainstream then OGP into a local level. They can motivate more ambition, and they can really be part of the inspiration across communities to support OGP. But in the growing populist political environment and the fake news-led social networking, civil society organizations are really at risk. They need the partnership and support of their governments. And of course, as I'm saying here, their governments need them. For example, your local chapters of Transparency International provide deep knowledge, not only of ways of addressing corruption, but also of ways of addressing the prevention of corruption. They also have skills in promoting transparency. So embrace your local chapters of Transparency International. It's just one example, though, of a civil society organization that can help you. So in closing, can I exhort all of my OGP Fono colleagues here today to entice, engage, enable, and energize their civil society organizations? This will be to the benefit of your governments and also to the benefit of democracy. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Suzanne, for so brilliantly articulating the importance of this moment for governments to stand up and support their civil society. This is a partnership. This is a moment of tension globally. And civil society there is no OGP, there's no open government without civil society. And that's a shared responsibility. Thank you for articulating that so well. Turning to Ilham Mohammed, Asia Regional Coordinator of Transparency International.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Suzanne. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies and colleagues. I want to reiterate Suzanne's message on civil society playing an inimitable role in promoting and protecting open government principles and practices. OGP commitments, such as those around asset disclosure, for example, are tools amplified by a vibrant civil society. To play this key role, operational space for civil society is key. We need to vigilantly protect the right to information, the right to whistleblower protection, and balance these values alongside cybersecurity laws, privatization, privacy laws, and digitalization programs. As the chair pointed out earlier, the challenges that we all face in this room, are transnational in nature. To do this, I would like to call, to face this challenge, I'd like to call upon the governments here to take an extra step beyond your national borders and become champions of open governance and open government principles in regional and global spaces. This, at this moment in juncture in history, is absolutely necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for articulating that importance of becoming champions, not just at home, but also across borders. I think that's really, really important for us as a community. Last but not least in the civil society round, Cielo Magno, who you've seen this morning, civil society co-chair of the Open Government Partnership, and in that role, my boss.
Thank you, Paul, and good afternoon, everyone. Maybe just to complement what everyone has already mentioned, and we keep on mentioning the term civic space, maybe it's good to define it. So from my perspective, what do we mean by having a genuine civic space? I have 3 characteristics of it. One would be to make sure that civil society operates independently. What do we mean by that? Available resources, independent accreditation, because as some of our colleagues here from government have mentioned, they're politicians. And of course, we know in some instances, if politicians don't like civil society, they don't get accredited. So I think it's very important that we advocate for mechanisms for self-regulation and self-accreditation. It's also important that government recognize civil society participation or participation in governance as a basic human rights. And I was told that the city of Baguio just passed an ordinance recognizing that and penalizing red tagging. So I'm hoping that this can become a best practice, not just at the national level, but at the regional level, recognizing citizen participation as human rights. The second aspect of genuine civic space is the presence of spaces for participation. But when we say spaces for participation, I would advocate for the participation in the full value chain of the decision-making process, because sometimes the civil society, we experience being consulted, but then we see a completely different reform or policy proposal at the end of that whole policy process, because our participation is limited on consultation. We don't have participation when these policies are reviewed. We don't have participation when they are monitored or evaluated. So a concrete example, and I'm taking advantage of the presence of some of the secretaries here. Secretary Rex, for example, we may have data on support for social protection of our citizens. But I think it will be very helpful to deepen the engagement if we have public access to information of these individuals receiving assistance from government, and for communities to have the opportunity to validate this information. So in that case, we just don't engage at the national level, but we're able to deepen participation, because even within civil society, we have discrimination. Sometimes high-level, national-level CSOs can participate, but community-level organizations have limited space to participate. Another example of just completing the value chain is, for example, DBM has a lot of information on the budget, and I commend them. They have information in Excel form of the budget, and we know that the administration is allocating 1 trillion pesos for climate, right? But as civil society, as community members, what we want to know is whether this 1 trillion pesos is really used and are effective in preventing the impact of climate change and creating resilient communities. So I would suggest, for example, that to be able to be more participative is to have actually a people's audit on how this money is being spent, what are the projects, and evaluating their actual impact to the community. Marlon mentioned access to information. It's not enough to see this data online. I think one important thing about access to information is for us being empowered to process this information. Sometimes we get access to information, but they're in scanned form. So you have to recode, right? I think it's important that when we make data available, we make them machine readable so that we empower our civil society and public to analyze this information. And then the last part would be empowered civil society, because we have to make sure that they have the capacity to engage. And then my last message would be, we know that civil society has been very critical of government, and we engage all levels of government in terms of criticizing. But I think we have to understand, and we have to go back to the root of why civil society and NGOs were created. We were created to be partners of government to address efficiency in the delivery of development programs to communities. And I think we have to go back to that core principle of being partners, because as we criticize, our main goal is the same, and that's to deliver important basic programs and projects, protect human rights for the interest of the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Cielo. It's hard to sit next to your chair and try to get her to speed up. Final round. Bear with us for another 10 minutes, and then we'll get you to food, because these are important perspectives now coming from our international partners. And some of the speakers alluded to the effect it will have that the US is pulling out of international aid and support. And that is a massive effect. The partnership would not be where it is, of course, without the energy and the inspiration of the reformers, but also not without the support of very generous, very smart, very connected international partners. So the third round focuses on building partnership and support. How are you trying to support open government reforms and positively shift conditions for partnerships to thrive? And what concrete contributions are you seeking to make in the coming years? We have 3 speakers in this round. We first turn to Dinata Putri, Director of Luminate Asia. Luminate has, through the years, from the early beginning of OGP, been an important supporter of open government.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, Excellencies. I'm speaking today on behalf of Luminate. We are a foundation working to ensure that the design, development, and use of technology respects human rights and social justice. And we have been supporting the initiation of open government partnerships from 13 years ago. The open government is known for its co-creation process, where it involves not only different government agencies, but also civil society and other stakeholders. And this is what we need to commit to. We believe it's crucial to highlight the importance of partnership here, especially if we are talking about the new themes on data and digital governance, because this field is changing rapidly and we are all learning as we go. Already we see a significant opportunity for everyone, government, civil society, academics, think tank, and private foundation like ours to build this ecosystem together. However, for this partnership to happen, openness from each sector and willingness to work together is crucial. And we believe this is what meaningful co-creation means. In terms of contribution, concretely, our contribution has been centered on long-term support through capacity and knowledge building for local partners, so that they have the means and the tools to meaningfully co-create and to be involved in the realizations of national action plans and the open government reforms over time. We continuously building and supporting the data and digital governance ecosystem, supporting work to mainstreaming personal data protection frameworks, which is the backbone for data governance. We do policy discussions, public engagements, all with the goal to helping countries solidify its data and digital governance strategy, and we are committed to continue doing so. Ultimately, we see ourselves as an ally in creating an environment where all sectors of society can share knowledge, align on priorities, and commit to society where open, just, and fair government exists, and where technology serves people and public interest, and not the other way around. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinita. And I think the perspective you bring is really important, because our global partners, our funders, often is like, okay, it's about the funding. Yes, it is about the funding. It is also about the connections, the technical support, the political door opening. All of that is important, and that is what our international partners do, and we thank you for that. We turn to Marco Gemmer, Head of Cooperation of the EU delegation here in the Philippines. The European Commission is one of our strongest supporters in many countries across the globe. Marco, the floor is yours.
Excellencies, colleagues and friends, all protocols observed. I come with a briefing talking about what we are doing, and I realized the question is how we are doing it. So let me go freestyle. First of all, as you said, we are supporting in 7 countries right now open government partnership through our colleagues in headquarters. So Paul is bearing with them, and the Philippine colleagues are bearing with us here in the country, although I think we have relations with all of you, including Australia and New Zealand, on different levels. But on the how, I think the first thing that came to my mind on the positive partnership development, this was the question, is the example how the Philippines launched last year, and under the leadership of the Honorable Secretary, the report. So there's topics discussed such as corruption, anti-corruption, leave no one behind, but it was such a positive energy. And I think this is where sometimes we have to learn how to tackle a problem in a positive way, to make it accessible for people in order to avoid that there's a polarization. Because this is what we heard from many colleagues, this is happening around the world. What we are trying to do, and this is on the how, is to create this space, this dialogue platform between the players that think they are relevant or meaningful for the meaningful partnership. We as an institution are very good to say we invite relevant stakeholders. But do we ask, do you think you're relevant? And I think this is what we are doing by supporting the Open Government Partnership, by creating the space for people to say, wait a second, we are also relevant. And here in the Philippines, I think we have excellent examples how this was done, how we came in as a partner. Honorable Chief Justice explained what we are doing. Open justice access, access to justice for all, how we work with the Department of Interior, local government, with the Supreme Court. But the way how we did it is to make sure that the relevant players were there, and the relevant players were defining what is meaningful for them. This takes a lot of time, but I think this is the formula for the success of our partnerships here in the Philippines, that we took the time. Youth and gender, this is also part of the how. We cannot solve local issues by not asking the right people in the local communities. And it's not for us as the European Union, as a partner, to ask these questions. It's about working with the partners at national government, down to the local government level, to support, to find, or have them finding the right formula for the engagement. So again, who is meaningful? How are you relevant? This is not for us to ask or to answer. For us, we have tools to create the platform, and I think this is very important. Youth engagement, how do we involve the youth? I wouldn't count myself into the definition of youth anymore, so we have to ask young people, how do you want to be involved? And I think this is happening right now also in the Department of Budget and Management. How can youth be involved, and how can our technical language be translated for them to be interested and to create this, this interest. Front runners, I heard the word here, front runners, and that will be my last point. In a partnership, and especially in the positive partnership, it's important to look how fast can we walk in this partnership. There can be front runners, and this is how you set the benchmarks. The benchmark in a partnership has to be set jointly. There cannot be one partner deciding on the benchmark. But we cannot also always take the lowest benchmark. We cannot send a teacher to school saying, you shouldn't read better than your students. No, it's the teacher who sets the benchmark with the patience for the students to catch up, to be as good readers, ideally, in the future. So looking at the front runners, but never forget that we cannot walk faster than our partners. And in the engagement of civil society, and so now this is my last point, sorry. Civil society, I hear a lot about civil society organizations. It's important to define civil society as it was done in this round. With the same understanding by government and civil society, it's not about the organizations that can be supported monetarily through training. It's also the private sector, it's business organizations, it's trade unions. Trade unions are a very important player in civil society that are relevant for the governance partnership. There's often the misconception that we can only work with civil society organizations, because especially the private sector is of utmost importance for us to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the climate targets, but also governance at the local level, because private sector is an important player when it's about governance. And we need to involve the private sector also to attract investment, because without economic development and tax-paying citizens, government will not exist. So I think this is a very important part of the formula that has to be translated to everyone at the different way, with the front runners, while not walking faster than anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. And it's two good reminders in there. One, the importance of the private sector, and I think the Philippines actually in the early years in OGP were one of the pioneers of constructively bringing in the private sector in the OGP conversation. And the importance of front runners. One of the design principles of OGP is to create a race to the top and to create a race to ambition. Selva, you have the honorable task of being the last speaker today. Selva Ramachandran, resident representative of UNDP here in the Philippines.
Thank you, sir. So let me be brief so that we can go out for lunch soon. To start off, I wanted to say open and inclusive governance is essential to meeting the SDGs, ensuring that no one is left behind. In this connection, I'm not only speaking on UNDP. I think the whole UN system and UNDP supports promotion of good governance and strengthening institutions as a means for promoting sustainable development accountable to people's needs. In Asia Pacific, now I speak for UNDP, in Asia Pacific, UNDP heavily invested in making governance future ready through anticipatory, adaptive, and agile public institutions in collaboration with citizens. I think that's very important, creating the space and bringing different stakeholders in that process. We promote both social and digital innovation, which not only make public services more transparent and efficient, but also empower citizens to co-create solutions with their public officials. In the Philippines, we are very happy to have accompanied the Philippine OGP in co-creating its latest National Action Plan. We are also grateful to have the opportunities to support various reforms. This includes digitalization to enable access to services and citizens' feedback, establishing mechanism for local government and civil society collaborations, and strengthening accountability, participatory audit, third-party monitoring. I have something written, but I will not read, same like Marco, just some of the big picture issues. I see moving forward, one defining issue is key importance, not only for Philippines, in the whole region, is climate vulnerability and climate resilience. This issue cannot be tackled by somebody alone or by government on their own. It requires wider stakeholder participation, and in this process, the Open Government Partnership can play a very important role, bringing different stakeholders, community engagement, civil society engagement, private sector participation, development partners, local government, I can name it. The whole of society approach is key. I think this is something UNDP is really looking forward, and we are engaging also in Philippines with support. And the support that we provide, I must take this opportunity to thank our development partners. Without their funding support and resources, we won't be able to do it. Whatever we do, it's not supply-driven, it's demand-driven, so we work very closely with local government and with government, and we are also appreciative in that process. The space is given to us to work and innovate at the local level, bringing wider stakeholders and community, particularly in community in the country. I think we do that similar thing across the Asia-Pacific region, but I wanted to emphasize the importance of community engagement. Otherwise, the ownership moving forward will not be there. Let me stop with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Selva, and you're modest about the role of the UNDP, as is the nature of UNDP. I think the UNDP is incredibly important to the OGP processes and outcomes in many countries across the world. So we thank you for that. Wow, that was a lot. I hope it gave you what I promised in the beginning, inspiration and insights. Apologies for going over a little bit. It's interesting that across all the contributions we see all the key aspects of OGP and open government coming back. We heard about the fundamentals like budget transparency and access to information. We also heard about the new frontiers, climate, digital governance. We talked about the importance of dialogue and partnership, about working closely together domestically, but also regionally and globally, and the need for this being more than talk. OGP is about action, action plans, but those actions need to lead to real difference for real people. Thank you, everyone, for your contribution. Thank you for the governments, for your leadership, civil society, for your dedication and collaboration in particularly hard times. Partners, for your steadfast support. Audience, for bearing with us for close to 2 hours. We look forward to work with everyone in the coming years to take on the challenge and the ambition of the open government agenda. Thank you very much.